Legislation, as we know now, can change quite dramatically. So it probably makes more sense, particularly with regards to rating and stuff, that if there's, not that I'm expecting any, but you never know. If there's significant changes to legislation, it's good to have probably a shorter time review so that we can pick that up quicker. Obviously, we could review it before that date as well. I guess it's just, it keeps it fresh in our mind.
That's fine. And then the only other question I had was the dates that you folks have got in the policy. Are those the dates, the earliest practical and legal dates in terms of moving things along?
Yes, in most cases, yes.
Okay.
It's either legal, such as, for example, the mortgagee stuff, we can't send a notification before. We have to do the original notification, can't be till August, and then it has to be 3 months from whatever date that is, we do the demand. So some of those legislative and some of those just practical, just obviously with the timing of things. So we had penalty dates for that sort of stuff.
So the real question here, the question that underpins that is, are we moving as fast as we reasonably can? Your response is yes, we are.
Yes, we believe we are.
Okay. All right. Councillor Butcher.
In relation to, I did have a few questions, but some of it's been answered now. I think my one, just two questions. One of my ones on the doubtful debts identification, and then under other debts. 4 months seems like a really long time in relation to getting on top of that debt, letting it run for 4 months. I could have misinterpreted that.
120 days.
Yeah. In business, of course, you don't generally let that go that long. And then you start putting in something in place, be it a payment plan, especially for repeat people that are doing it every year. I had noticed in the whole of this that, you know, we've got a few people that are over a year and what they are paying is back to the previous year. So I'm just wondering within this policy if that date really should change in relation to doubtful debts and other debts or non-doubtful debts, because the word doubtful is a bit scary because it says that you think you're not just going to get paid at all and then it turns into a written off debt. And then in the recovery process, what do you call it, pictures or tables, flowcharts, yes, that's it. Just some of them, and I'm more so not so much the rating sale or the abandoned land rating sale, was more the rates arrears recovery, because the other two are to me the extreme of what happens at the end. Because everyone, you know, those people generally at this rates arrears recovery, there's no sort of time line in the sense of, okay, 2 months, they've been a non-payer for a whole year, or they've shown a pattern. To say, right, let's get in now and make them, for example, they have to go on direct debit. Do you know what I mean? So that they're not just paying when they feel like they pay.
I mean, that's fair enough. I mean,
sorry, that was a big mouthful.
Yes, I guess in terms of dates on here, I guess we didn't put specific dates because obviously each situation, if you're dealing with someone who's in arrears, may have different timeframes. Getting a hold of someone in the first place might take longer than you plan, so you can't process to the next step until you've achieved that. For other people, you might get it, hit a process, get in touch with them, get some sort of payment plan in place, and then they meet that for a while and then stop. So I guess we didn't want to be too prescriptive in the flowcharts. That's why there's no dates in there. And obviously there's legislative things as well, so something doesn't become an arrears until after the 1st of July, the following year after the rates were originally due.
Is that why you've got 120 days? Because there's that bit of process in there?
So the 120 days is more around the non-rates debt. So there's probably a couple of reasons for that. One is it gives us a chance to do those, you know, first overdue, second overdue, third and final sort of thing. And also it cuts down a bit on some of the process for Teresa, because obviously some debts will sit there for a while, and the examples I'm thinking about that is development contributions for resource consents and building consents. Because some of those aren't due until, and even some with resource consents, we don't progress things.
Yeah.
The debt might not come due until the actual process is complete. So it might sit there, and because of the way the system ages it, it ages it out to 120 days or over 90 days. But technically it might not be due yet. So it just cuts down on the amount of administrative work for Teresa to go through and try and figure out with each one, is this actually a debt?
Yeah.
Whereas if we just focus on the ones over 120 days, there should, in theory, be a lot less of those.
So Teresa's the only person at Cotton Socks really that is debt collector in the team.
She's doing the bulk of it, and then obviously,
Okay.
Having said that, we're in the process of hiring another rates officer. And that's in the intention that Teresa has indicated that she may be thinking about retiring some point in the future. And rates officers aren't exactly a role that you can just go out and grab anyone to do. So the theory is that we get someone in now, and Teresa can train them up on the brilliant work she does, so that they can be just as brilliant when she decides to leave. So we will actually, for a while, at least have two people that can be working on debt management, which might actually also help us. It will also free Teresa up once the new person is up to date on the day-to-day stuff, that Teresa can focus on some of these long-term ones that she wants to.
Because if you look at the job responsibilities of that person, that's quite a lot for one person.
Yes.
Yeah, so interesting.
Just one comment about the direct debits. Direct debits, you cannot guarantee the money's in the account. And that's one of the biggest things about direct debits, is that dishonor. And that's just, it's a time waster. And our policy says 3 dishonors and it's cancelled. So I try to work with the customer to say, well, this is the payment arrangement, you have to honour that and work with it. But it can be just ongoing with some customers. So as much as we'd love to say, put them on direct debit, sometimes creates more work, depending on the nature of the client.
In that regards then, Teresa, the ability to contact banks, because I'm presuming most of them would have mortgages. How often are you able to use that process?
Well, only with the rate.
The rates and water.
Yes, that's what I was meaning.
Just
Yes.
with mortgagees, those that have mortgages.
Yeah.
But if it's unencumbered, we can't.
Yes, right,
They manage their finance, they have to manage that.
And the mortgagee process is a once a year process, because again, you can't go until the year after the rates come due.
Okay.
So because the first rates go in July, June, August, and then January, June, February, we can't claim any of that from the bank until after. Well, we can't send a letter telling them they owe us the money until the 1st of August the following year, and then November, the earliest we can actually get the money from.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, on that basis, then I'll move that the debt recovery policy be approved and be seconded by His Worship. Let's turn now to item 9, which is fair value and carrying value assessment. So this is a request for confirmation that carrying values of the council's land, buildings and roading assets are not materially different from the fair value of those assets, on the basis that the Three Waters assets are due to be revalued this year.
Yes.
Is there anything in particular you wanted to point out? You've, I think, correctly described this as a borderline call. It's about a 6% difference.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, recommended that we proceed on the basis that we treat them as not materially different. Is there anything in particular that you wanted to draw to our attention, Brent?
I guess in the previous meeting, the chair brought up a discussion he had with Bruno, who's our partner at Deloitte, that's the partner on the job, who we all met last week, the week before, when the OAG was here as well, about why we use fair value versus using cost. I did talk to Bruno about that. So it was more a general discussion he was having as to why he doesn't understand why we went down a fair value path as the local government as a sector and even the public sector. Now that we're in that, there's no way to go back. So that was one of the questions that came up. Not the legislation, the accounting standards would basically not let us go back to a cost basis. So we're stuck on the fair value basis. He did note that some of the water entities, and he is actually going to be involved in auditing some of those water entities, are likely to go with that cost depreciation, less depreciation model. So that will actually make their lives easier. Lucky for them. But yeah, we're not able to change back at this point. And I guess the other thing that I did discuss with Bruno, which I can't remember if I mentioned in here, was around, oh yeah, no, I did. It was an earlier point, was around not getting a peer review done of our valuation if we did it in-house. Unfortunately, that's an expectation of the OAG that we do have a peer review because our in-house experts are not actually registered valuers, which is fair enough because we have those on staff and probably costing us a lot more to have them to do work once every year. And also Deloitte and the auditors in general are not registered valuers either, so they don't know. So that's where that peer review in the middle comes in. I did say that I think I was going to get some costs on getting it done independently by someone versus a peer review. I've had one of those back and waiting on the second one. The costs aren't too prohibitive to get it independently done. And obviously there's the benefits of freeing up staff to not have to worry about doing the work. There's a lot of to and fro, particularly I remember that from the roading one last year. There was a lot of back and forth. They say, fix this, we have to fix it, go back. Getting it done independently, they can just do all that for us. So it is something that we're still looking at, but I'm still of the opinion that we can get that done in time for the audit quite easily, whichever way we go.
Thank you. Has Waikato Waters decided which treatment it's going to use?
They haven't signalled that to us through the CFO catch-ups. I would assume, considering what Bruno said, and the fact that I know that Bruno is the auditor of Waikato Waters, I would say they're probably going to go the cost less depreciation model, but I don't know for sure.
So do we know what the implications of value mismatch will be?
No. Yeah, and I guess that's something for them to worry about. From our point of view, there's probably no issues with that because the assets will just get transferred.
Because you're the vendor.
Yes. Yeah, so it'll be their issue to deal with, particularly because they're obviously getting 3 lots of assets this year. On the 1st of July, they're getting Matapiako's going in October, and then us Hauraki going in July next year. And we've all probably got different revaluation cycles that it is. So that's their problem to deal with, how they're going to make that all work. And I'm trying not to think about that too much because I've got enough of the stuff going on my brain.
Fair enough. I do know the DIA is thinking about it. I think they're getting some advice
Right, yes.
on that issue.
Yeah, and I know Waikato Water has been using KPMG and PwC to do some advice for them on various accounting issues as well. So I'm sure that's something they've considered.
Okay. All right. Any other questions, colleagues?
Just one, Brendan, for you, Chair. Just 5.5.
Yes.
Can you just explain that to me, please? I don't quite understand that. You've got a decrease and then you've got a slight increase.
Yeah, so I guess that ties into 5.4. So 5.4 above, you can see that I've said that based on the information we have, the capital values of the district have decreased.
Yeah.
But the sales data is showing that we've had a slight increase in sales data. So this is the range that potentially it could fit in.
Yeah.
It's somewhere from a decrease of, for the operation land, 400,000 to a $16,000 increase.
Slightly increase.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Brendan. So on that basis, I'll move that we confirm the carrying values of the land and buildings and roading assets are not materially different from the fair value of those assets. I'll move that, and that'll be seconded by Councillor Barker. Okay, so let's move now to item 10. Noah, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning. How are we doing?
Very good. So a few interesting items come out of your report. Is there anything in particular that you wanted to draw to our attention before we get into questions now?
Yeah, so I think the key piece of this is we've seen a bit of a rate of increase in our incidents. And probably as months change, that tends to happen a bit more, especially as things get wet and that happens. But realistically, I think part of that is also the introduction of the new system. People are very vigilant, even minor incidences are being much more heavily reported on, which is good to see. And so there's saying that's coming more to the forefront in that way as well.
Is there anything in particular that's keeping you awake at night?
That's a big question. So realistically, I'm not going to sit here and say that system's gold plated and perfect in any way, shape, or form. The key thing for me is that we are building that foundation to continue to get improvement and growth. And I don't think any organisation will say that their health and safety is gold plated. The things that are probably more to the forefront for me would be around the contract management, which is progressing. And just dealing with some of our hazardous chemicals, which again is in progress and focused on at the moment.
Okay. Let's get into questions then. Maybe if I start off, and I'll just work through by number 4.3, annual leave. Any significant balances there?
Sorry,
Any significant annual leave balances?
no. So they're all within. I think it's around about 7 weeks at most, and those are very heavily focused on. It's something Tanya and the leadership team have taken focus on every year. So it's just we send a quarterly report to them, so that they can keep a visual on it and then encourage staff to drop it.
Okay, thank you. 4.5, a couple of serious incidents. Anything there that is of particular importance from your perspective?
So we're undergoing health and safety investigations for both of those at this stage. One of the incidences that occurred it was probably just a lapse in judgment, while the other one was probably practices we need to change and we're going to change from now on. So I think one of those should be eliminated. The other one was just a reminder to the staff member and how they approach things. Yeah, and I think it'll be solved.
So neither of them notifiable, neither of them likely to result in a prosecution.
No, and when I'm saying serious, I'm talking about if they've had to go off on injury, or it was a near miss, but could have resulted in a notifiable event. So both cases not notifiable level.
Okay, thank you. Next question. In 4.8, you say work needs to be done to redefine our critical risks given the change in time since they were last completed. What's your timeline for that?
So realistically, our focus at the moment is the system is being built up, which will be by the end of June. And then the next financial year, we're looking at critical risk, contract management, hazardous chemicals. So I don't have these are the dates, but it's within our focus for the next financial year.
Okay. If the Van Velden amendments to the health and safety legislation are passed, then definition of critical risk will become even more important.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And so we need to consider that. We're doing, Tracy, who's my direct report, and I are doing our planning session for what that financial year and planning out the exact dates for that next Monday. So we'll have more firm dates on that there. So
okay, when's our next Kaya? When's our next meeting? That's all right. The reason I asked that question is maybe it would be good in Noah's next report to give us an update on planning in terms of calculation of critical risks. That'd be great.
absolutely.
Just also on that subject, 4.13, the new health and safety system. I'm sure that you're in the middle of implementation, so the last thing we want to do is ask you for early reports on that. But what would be useful at a time, either next time or the time after that, in other words, the last meeting of the year, and you can choose which one, but it would be very useful to hear about how that rollout's gone. Because rollout systems are notoriously always difficult. Importantly, are there any lessons that we've learned? Is there anything that would be useful for us to know about?
Absolutely.
I will leave you to choose whether it's next time or the time after, but if we could make sure that that's included in one of those two reports, that'd be really helpful, I think. No. And equally, 4.25, I'm particularly sensitive, and I'm sure you are as well, on lone worker issues. You've referred in 4.25 in relation to lone workers monitoring has identified that device use is not yet fully consistent across all relevant roles. So the next steps are to follow up with staff to strengthen compliance and to confirm any ongoing gaps. Would you mind, please, giving us an update in your next report, which is the 17th of August, on how that rollout's going?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've recently implemented that policy, so we now have that back into sort of go, yeah, need to use it. Absolutely.
Excellent. Thanks, Noel. Colleagues, anyone else with any questions?
Through you, Chair. No, you pretty much answered the questions that I was going to ask, Peter. The only thing was just double checking the incidents weren't to do with contractors, correct? It was just staff, in-house staff.
In-house staff. Yeah.
And the overspeeds, again, quite a big increase from last time, but
Yes. Yeah. So two of the overspeeds were done on Dave's account. With him, he wasn't the one driving. But with that also, just to give you some context, what an overspeed is reported as 10 seconds or more driving at over 20 k's the limit. And so, for example,
20 k's is the limit.
10 or 20, I think so. And so what that is that, for example, if you go from a changing zone from, roadworks where it's 50, and that it will lodge it. Sometimes those, when people change from the directions, the roads don't have the right point.
Yeah.
So it still logs an overspeed when it actually hasn't occurred. But with every overspeed, we give that information to the general managers to have a look at as well. So they do a sense check of it.
Okay, so can just clarify again, you're saying their allowable overspeed is, well, it's not allowed, but you're saying it records once they get to 20 k's over any speed limit.
I believe it's 20 k's, it could be 10, but let me confirm that for next time if that's okay.
Yeah, that 20 k's is quite high.
Just think it's 10.
Yeah.
Just
yeah,
like
Yeah.
generally
Yeah.
10.
Yeah, thank you.
Generally 10, Joe, just
I know, I was just saying 20 is quite high. So that's what I wanted to clarify.
eight's not many either. When you've got 50 drivers.
Just a supplementary, if I could, Councillor. From a health and safety perspective, what's the value of this?
Of monitoring overspeeds?
Yeah.
Well, because if we're seeing someone who's getting consistent overspeeds, it means that they're not driving safely. And so we need to do that sense check to make sure it isn't just one of those nuances. And if we do see people continuously doing it, we need to draw their attention back to the safe driving policy. They need to drive within legal limits, is our expectation. And so we don't want them to crash or have any other adverse effect from it.
Can I add to that through you, Chair? So a couple of years ago, we had some accusations from someone in our community that one of our field staff was driving at at speed on gravel roads. And through the E-road system, we were able to determine that that wasn't the case at all, and go back to that person and actually refute those claims. So yeah, there's sort of several ways we can use the data.
Thank you. Do you use it in your business?
The other thing I was just gonna ask now is, do you drug test them if they are over? Is it sometimes erratic driving is,
So we
is that
have
an automatic thing like some companies do?
no, so we have a post-incident drug where we can in our policy, but we haven't needed to with that.
Sometimes
stage.
people speed because of fatigue too, though, or other things. So it's, yeah, it's patterns rather than single event. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's probably looking at a pattern.
That makes a lot more sense. Thank you. Anyone else got any other questions of Noah? Noah, thank you. Much appreciated, and look forward to those follow-up reports next time, and then also if you choose in November as well.
Awesome. Thank you
Thank you very much. Okay. It's basically the Brendan O'Callaghan show today, isn't it?
Yes, pretty much.
With some minor guest appearances. Okay. So for you and Teresa, thank you for the debtors report. I have to confess, and this is probably on me rather than the report. I was struggling a little I was struggling with this report to understand whether we're better off or worse off than last time, because there's a lot of numbers flying around.
Yeah.
Which is nice if you're versed in Klingon, but a lot harder if you're not. So Teresa, maybe a question for you. Are you at the moment, are you feeling that things are from a debt collection perspective about the same, better or worse? I'm just trying to understand trends. I don't get the trends from the paper.
Yeah, so Mr. Chair, yeah, I think at the moment just we're seeing a lot of properties being sold and bought, which is the limbs people requesting. I mean, we had, I think 1 week we had 9, which that's just not heard of. So we're just finding more and more now that it's almost becoming a part-time job. I'm doing reports, and Graham probably can support that. Sam has to sign them all off. So there is sort of movement out there, and I think there's a lot of subdivisions, a lot of people buying bare blocks, you know, for whatever purposes is that. But just explaining, like on the outstanding debtor one.
Yeah.
So when you look at that over 90 days, 2 of them we know about are ongoing. When you look at the library seems quite high, but there's 2 debts there that come to 1,200, which are sitting with debt collection. So I think that the debt collecting figures are in there. So it's really quite hard to, you've got to break it down a little bit more.
Is there anything in particular, Teresa, that's worrying you?
No, I think it's just, we just have to keep communicating with the customers, yeah.
Are you
Get it out there.
seeing any, if there's nothing that's worrying you, that's fine. Are you seeing any trends that are potentially disturbing?
No, you either want to pay your rates or you don't. So that's what you're kind of working with.
So,
But I would say that probably a good 80% of people are conscious about paying their rates. If they're not, it's for a reason.
okay. And you don't see that number declining. In other words, you're not seeing a trend where you're more of the community are looking to avoid paying rates on time.
No, I guess what I alluded to with the notice of sales, I think those that are struggling are selling. And I think that's the trend that we are seeing. Yeah, we've had our very first successful abandoned sale and that's all been done. And we do have some rating sales at the moment that are potentially in process. So with some of them have been approved by the court, but of course we give them at least 3 months to come on board and to try and clear their debt.
Okay.
Mm.
Colleagues, any questions of this report? What I would find useful while folks are just looking, what I'd find really useful, Teresa, is what we've got here is, and not being critical, we've got the facts. But given your experience, what I'm really interested in is the facts plus your perspective. So I'd like to get your sense as to whether you think things are improving, staying the same, or declining, and if so, where, and if so, if there's anything that you think we as an organisation could be doing to make your life easier. So what I'd love to see is a little bit more colour in the report, if I could, to reflect what you present in colour. What we'd like to do is to have the report reflect the same amount of colour. So
Thank you.
I'd certainly would appreciate seeing a little bit more about what you think the state of play is in relation to collection, and in particular, because of your long experience, whether there are any trends that you're observing, which would be useful for us to understand. Is that okay?
Yep, I can do that for the next.
I think that would be really helpful.
Yep. No.
Colleagues, any questions of Teresa or Brendan?
Through you, Chair, one of my concerns, I suppose, is the water rates, and with going over to Waikato Water's done well, and it's increasing. I just got this little fear that a new entity's coming in, people will just forget about us, what they owe to us. And yeah, so I'm not sure. I mean, is it that you need for a certain amount of period of time extra people? I know you've got to get experienced people. It's not an everyday job. I do understand that, but you could advertise for someone who's done that. There are a lot of people. I know how to debt collect. I debt collect all the time in our business. You know, well, from our point of view, in that sense, it's basic experience, but it's experience. Do you know what I mean? I don't know whether there needs for a period of time someone to help, and then some of their overdues on the general rates, you know, ones that don't even get it by post and say they haven't received it, and then you get an email on them, and half of them, and I know that from working in accounting as well, they're struggling to even look at their invoices. You know, you've got all these programs now, M0, MYOB, and you're meant to attach your invoice to that, and it's meant to make all life easier. But they're just struggling to look at the amount of invoices coming in, and they just forget. They literally forget. So whether it's that you need someone to do the cold calling to remind, you know, that's what seems to be happening these days. I'm getting texts these days, like I pay our PAYE on time all the time, but IRD still text me. And I go, ugh, you know, but they're texting me as a reminder a month before and then 2 weeks before, you know, and I'm finding out, I'm trying to work out on my IR, how do I take this off? I can't. But I don't know, is there some extra help in that regards? Because we've got a bit of a trend from June last year to this year, it's still going up. That's just my only little fear.
Through the chair, I think that we've had an instance where a lot of our rates are going into people's spam mail, and we've so a lot of my communication with them has been, no, I never received it. So I do have a permanent note now that says, if this is a reminder and you get it by email, please check your spam. And most times that's usually what's happened. And exactly what you said, people are just getting overloaded with that. We've got to also be aware that, you know, you've got like places like Carfree and that really aren't internet friendly. So we do make advertisements in the Te Amuru News and the King Country. Yeah, King Country. So I think that communication is really what's important.
Mm.
And yeah, just like I said, it's just communicating with them. Hopefully, in the actual report of the over 91 days there is 3 big farms in there that use a lot of water that are making time payments. And that would be probably the majority of what that excess debt is.
Yeah.
So they are paying monthly installments. And so that's, yeah.
In relation to what I just said about that text, is that an option or not in your?
So we have
Program.
Anteno, obviously, which we use Anteno, and I know for rates, and I think we do it for as well. We'll send out a reminder that it's coming due. Obviously, Anteno's an opt-in thing, so not everyone's on it. Texting, we do have that capability. I guess we don't necessarily have a lot of people's cell phones to be able to do that. And it's not really recorded against the water accounts. And yeah, the system sits outside of our normal system, so there's a bit of work to get it going, and we've never used it in the past, so it's not to say we couldn't,
Yeah.
but I guess we haven't. So we
Because-
have to get an understanding of it.
In a lot of people's systems these days, you're always asked for an email and a phone number, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So we usually get emails. We will have phone numbers against their name if we've talked to them recently, but that doesn't necessarily flow through into the water account itself. So there might be a little bit of jiggery pokery in the back end to pull it all together. Not to say that we can't, it's just, I guess, because we haven't been involved in using the text system previously, we don't know what's involved, but it is definitely something we could look at doing.
And the other things too that people don't update, we found that very much with our flood event, that our information was not up to date. And so people do change their emails, they do change their cell phones. And so we had a lot of, so that is one of the projects that, you know, hopefully we'll be able to get our teeth into. But like Brendan says, sometimes the systems don't marry up. And quite often if I've got no information, it's usually building consents. It's usually I go into our documents, and I just become super sleuth to try and to try and find, you know, contacts. But yeah, it's about just collaborating all the information that we've got access to.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, just, has there been an increase of people who blatantly just won't pay their rates?
Increase, sorry?
There's been an increase of people who just blatantly won't pay their rate.
No.
No, usually the same offenders.
Yeah, and usually when I mean, we've got a little bit hardball now, and probably once upon a time we'd probably not, but now, like rating sales, as I said, this is something that this council never really has, and now we've got 4 potentially that are just sitting there to process. So, and usually that's when they say, oh gosh, they're serious.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I think that's just what we have to do now, is just play hardball.
Yeah, these are not debts you're collecting on behalf of the organisation. They're debts you're collecting fundamentally on behalf of the neighbours.
Yes.
These folks.
Absolutely.
Okay, all right. On that basis then, unless there are any other questions, Teresa, thank you and look forward to your report in August. I think we are done on this report. Is there anything else? Great. And so I think we're now into outstanding management letter reports. Thank you, Teresa. But make sure you bring it back in spades next time. Thank you, Teresa. So basically, it sounds like we will be done in those things we said we would do by the
Yes.
time of the audit.
Yep.
Excellent.
Yep.
I'm not sure there's much more to be said, really, is there? Well done. I think that's excellent. Thank you, Brendan. I think the next one is Rebecca's report, which is on the Mayoral Disaster Relief Fund update. Thanks, Brendan. Thanks for your report, Rebecca. I guess the one thing that I was looking for is that my understanding from the last report is that there are various kind of legal hurdles that need to be passed in the context of mayoral disaster relief funds.
Mhm.
Am I right in saying that you're confident that all of the legal requirements have been met in terms of the way in which the fund's been administered?
Absolutely. And with Brendan being a member of the panel, he's got a really good handle on all the reporting. I think the primary one is the 6-month reporting to central government on the 100,000 contribution from central government, which we have now spent and are in a position to report back on that. So we're well within the 6-month timeframe.
Wonderful. Is there anything else that you wanted to add, Rebecca, otherwise in relation to your reports? Pretty self-explanatory.
I just wanted to acknowledge the work that Kaya did. I'm presenting this report and it's been a very easy job for me because Kaya had put in a huge amount of work in setting up all the systems for this. So I just wanted to acknowledge her contribution.
Thank you. Thank you, Rebecca, and thank you, Kyle.
Yeah, thank you, Kyle.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Rebecca. I think it's time now for surely the highlight of every audit and risk committee meeting. So welcome to the Headline Act. Mark, thanks for your report. There's a few things to dig into. Just, is there anything in particular you wanted to draw to our attention?
Yeah, just a couple of items. Good morning. I noted in there that we had possibly a result from our abatement notice on the wastewater treatment plant pending. So just an update on that. We received a letter on Friday to say that they won't be taking any enforcement action on Ōtorohanga District Council. So that investigation's all over. And the letter sort of did highlight some of the work the team had done in improving some of the systems. So that was quite pleasing to see. It's taken some time to get to this point, but that was a good result. The second thing was just had an update this morning with the capital delivery team that we're looking at the Three Waters project that's currently going on in town at the moment. It's probably going to extend into next year now. So it's going to go through as work in progress. We probably thought it was going to be into July. It's probably looking more like August now. And I just got another update just to get a bit of a sense of when we're going to have the tender document ready for the seawall repairs. And Robbie said we're probably a couple of weeks away. We'll have an engineer's estimate so that we can sort of get a bit of a sense of the financial, I suppose, risk and what that's going to cost us to do that next 100 metres.
Presumably that's a 26, 27 piece of work.
Yeah, we'll probably hope to have tendered over the winter months and then look to construct in spring. Yeah.
Okay. Good. Thank you. Anything else you wanted to raise?
No, I think that's it. Thank you. Take any questions.
I got a sense that the flooding event, when we spoke about it at the last meeting, you were very concerned about what impact that would have on the program. My sense is that you and the team have managed to pull that back a little bit. There's a sense here that there's some deferral of about $800,000 of resale works, but otherwise you look reasonably confident of being able to land everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a fair assessment. So I haven't included the emergency works from the 3 storm events which sit outside this, and the team have dedicated contractor working on that program. So it sits sort of isolated from this. The only outstanding project from that storm event in February is the Ōtorohanga Road work, which we're still waiting to, I suppose, let some time run by and let that site settle down. But there's also some aspect of funding that needs to be confirmed on the methodology we're going to use. So other than that, the rest is well under control. We'll probably creep into next financial year with some of it, but I've sort of spoken before that the key for us is year 3 of the LTP, and that's when the real risk will start to present, and that's why I've highlighted in here the reseals having to move into year 3. It's not ideal. It's quite a considerable program to do, but the key will be, and the expectation has been set already, that we'll be expecting those contractors early in the season to meet that 3 million program. So we'll be expecting them to land in Ōtorohanga by November to start that resealing work. That's probably the one risk I see, because if we don't achieve that, we'll actually lose funding for some of that work, which is not ideal.
It's not so much not ideal, it's disastrous, isn't it?
Mm.
Because
Yeah.
this is a co-funding deal between yourselves and transport.
Probably the only good thing in there is when those reseal teams are on site to deliver $3 million work is not a big piece of work. They tend to they send in quite sizable bills. So if they land on site early, we get favourable weather, we shouldn't have any trouble delivering that. The problem is if we had another spring that we've just been through, that's one of the variables we can't control, is that weather. So, but if they got on site, they could easily deliver that within the season.
I just wanted to dig into that a little bit, because 2.4, which is really what you're talking about with your paper, is really at the heart of the risk as I see it.
Yeah.
Leaving aside issues of weather, I just wanted to dig into your level of confidence of being able to get early contractor mobilization and prioritization. You make the point, which is a good point, which is in some respects a carryover into the next year makes it a bigger package of work, and therefore a more attractive package of work. Is this a contractor who does all your work, or is this package separately procured?
So the reseals have always stood separate to the maintenance contract. So to sort of add some confidence to having this delivered is this contract comes up for extension this year. So it's a rollover period. So part of that rollover will be those discussions around, are you able to actually deliver this? So that's where we'll set, I suppose, the expectation that prior to rolling this contract over, we need some assurance that you're going to land your team here at the beginning of the season to deliver through that contract season. So those discussions haven't taken place yet. And I suppose it is a 3-year contract. This will be the last year. I would like to think that will be a positive discussion.
It's really important for us, isn't it, that they turn up on time, assuming good weather.
Yeah.
And I just don't want to get into the operational detail, but the private sector in me would be asking myself about incentives and penalties for turning up early or turning up late.
So the contract as it stands doesn't have any penalties in it. And to probably just to talk about the contractor as such, they have delivered really good work and have set to this, stayed to their times. The 25-26 season was quite a difficult season. So obviously some of the sites we had set for February reseals were storm affected, so they couldn't. So it was probably a little bit of our problem and their problem. They were probably ready to go. We were unable to get those sites ready. So I think the key is we'll get all our pre-seal repairs done. We don't want to be part of the problem come reseal season, and we'll set those real clear expectations that and it is a big package of work, which I've sort of alluded to there, which is quite significant for a contractor. It's a little bit different if you were bringing them in to do an $800,000 reseal. So it'll be a big portion of their contract season, which should give a level of priority. But those conversations will take place, and we can only control what we can control, unfortunately.
Okay. Colleagues, any other questions of Mark?
Through you, Chair, it was just more of probably a comment, and just in relation to if you're having to go into year 3 as a reseal program. Just making sure our contractor who you're using, how well do they work under pressure so that they're not forced and rushed to do, an okay or substandard job. Yeah, that's my only little worry about pushing that into year 3, because you don't want to lose the funding. Just being mindful of that, I presume, but that's your everyday business, and I understand that's what you have to work with anyway.
Through your Chair, mine is more about the global price of crude oil. Like, and $3 million might not buy much tar seal next year. Doesn't buy much diesel, I know that. And we were told last week in Wellington by the fuel experts that even if the strait was settled tomorrow, it's going to take a year for everything to roll out back to somewhere near normal. So, and yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's probably a bit above our level, but
yeah, and unfortunately, we have to reduce the scope of work to meet the budget. We don't have the ability to increase the budget to sort of secure that scope, and that just takes us into another risk, is that then we sort of don't deliver the length of the program. The value will be spent, but we'll have a reduced length. And I think that everyone's struggling with those challenges at the moment.
Is it that you can't flexibly change away? Like, I mean, spend $3 million doing something else rather than resealing, and then come back to resealing when tar's cheap? Is that it's not really flexible like that?
Sorry, it's in its own budget line. It's what's been part of the funding, or what was awarded to Ōtorohanga Council. So,
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Mark? Okay, Mark, thank you very much. Kaya, I think we are at the end of the open agenda, correct?
Correct.
Why don't we close the meeting now, have a short morning tea break, and then we'll get into the workshops. Does that make sense? Okay, on that basis, then I'll move that we receive all of the information reports, seconded by Councillor Butcher, and I'll declare the meeting closed. Thank you. Good, excellent.